One of the things I
Mm-hmm.
love to talk to you about is I love to reference how you've approached several of the teams you've run directly over the last couple of years. Because one of the things I love is you'll be like, okay, I talked to these people. I ran this process to analyze what the challenges were, where the stakeholders were at with the product, who was in what role. Like you intook all this information and then you like laid out a roadmap of how you were going to address things and in what order you needed to do address them in. And there's a bunch that goes into that rationale, but there's a very strategic, it's not just, well, I need to get these guys communicating better. Why? Well, because it's important. Okay, well, why would you do that over prioritization? They can't prioritize either. Cricket, cricket. And it's like,
Right.
no, there was a rhyme and reason to why you selected certain things in certain orders. And there was a journey that you had in mind, a maturity journey that you had for that team. And you were watching their progress along that journey and you could track that. So that was another thing too. It's like, are you just doing stuff every day? Like, are you just hustling? Hustling is great, right? But is that all you're doing is just hustling as hard as you can and hoping that the outcomes are good and hoping that the direction is good? Or do you actually have mastery over the direction, understanding over the direction? Do you have a vision for where this
Yes.
team needs to go and what level on the maturity ladder? I don't make up your own maturity ladder. I don't care. Maybe it has 7 levels in it. Are they on level 2 or 3? Can you explain that and
Yeah.
rationalize that to me?
Boy, that brings
That
up
was a big one too. If you couldn't do that, then I didn't have trust that because there's no actual like harness around that team at that point. You're just trying to do good stuff. And again, that works as long as you're there to do the good stuff. But if you're not there all the time anymore, the whole thing falls apart.
I hear two things in there. One is awareness of different time horizons.
Mhm.
So what does it mean? Like as you become more senior as a leader, you're thinking longer and longer term as part of your job, in my opinion, like
Yeah.
necessarily. And most people be like, yeah, intuitively that makes a lot of sense. But to do that, to think longer term is to actually put down some of the responsibility to think short term and let others do that. Because that's the only way you're going to have brain space to go, okay, what's in the medium term? What's in the long term? The other thing that comes with thinking long term is vision becomes important. And I remember getting into debates about this, which is like, hey, as a leader and as you're scaling, how important is it for you to have a vision? And in my opinion, regardless of what type of leader you are, having a vision of what the group you are leading is and where you want it to go becomes more and more important, because otherwise you're going to get caught doing stuff, all the stuff you've always done, rather than saying, wait a minute, I could spend a bunch of time trying to make sure that all of the backlogs are in order by forcefully going and like sitting down with each product owner, let's say, and forcing them to fix every backlog. Or I can go like, wait, could I teach them? Again, coming back to your idea of can I teach it? Could I teach them what I would like in a backlog, show that to them from my level in some way, and then coach and mentor them as they walk down that journey and talk
Yeah.
about why that's important. Because if I do that, now I've created a bunch of people who can make their own backlog rather than me having to jump down and say, let me help you fix your backlog because you're clearly not doing it well.
Yeah. It's interesting.